Who would make your Premiership team of the season? Now that the regular season is done, the playoffs are on the horizon, who would make your 15? I've put together my list. I'm expecting some disagreement here. There always is. So the comment section is where you can let me know. Who would you select? And who and why do you disagree with the players I've selected? I'll be honest, some of those positions, there are a number of different names that I could have put down. And I'd imagine some of you in the comment section will be able to swing me around to your way of thinking. So do let me know. Also, whilst you're here, like the video and make sure you are subscribed. But let's get straight into it. This is my 15 of the year. So I'll talk you through them. Starting in the front row, Finn Baxter at Quins, I think, has had a brilliant year. He's been starting towards the end of the year in place of Joe Marler. He's had a real breakout season at a time when we are looking for the next English front row prospects to put their hand up in the air. I would imagine we will see him on the tour of New Zealand and that game down in Japan coming up this summer. I just think he's been excellent. You look back at, I know this is a Premiership team of the year, but if you look back at the Champions Cup and that win in Bordeaux in particular, that was a front row that he was involved in that were winning scrum penalties against a really tough back. I just think Finn Baxter has been excellent. It was quite an easy selection for me. I could have gone Beno Abano. I think he has had one of his best seasons in a long time, a guy that has had all sorts of issues with injury. It's been awesome to see him back, and is another name that I wouldn't be shocked to see in Steve Borthwick's squad for the summer. And Bevan Rodd as well, I think, has been good at Sale Sharks. So there are a number of different options. For me, I went with Finn Baxter. I'm excited with what the future might hold for him, in particular the recent or the near future and that summer tour. Hooker, Curtis Langdon, he's been brilliant for Saints. He has been everywhere for them. Such a dynamic hooker, but his set piece is good as well. And you feel like he's the perfect player for this Northampton team this year, in so much as he fits into the attacking side of their game with what he can do when he gets his hand on the ball, quick for a hooker, he can offload, all that sort of stuff. But also their set piece and their defence having been a lot better this year, something we've spoken about a lot throughout the course of the season. It's got a lot of attention in the media because it's been something very notable about how Northampton have improved. But Curtis Langdon, exceptional. And again, if we're looking at the England squad and we're thinking Jamie George, Theo Dan, the guys that have been the 1 and 2 more recently, Curtis Langdon as a third choice deserves to be in there. I know Luke Cowan-Dickey is kind of coming back to fitness and to form with Sale as well, but I think Langdon has been absolutely exceptional. On to the number 3 jersey. I've gone for Thomas du Toit, who again, similar to Northampton in a way. I think this Bath team, I'll come on to Finn Russell in a minute, but this Bath team has a tougher edge, a better set piece than I think we've seen them have for quite a while. He's absolutely crucial to that. And so that's why he was in there, really. Pretty simple. I think he's had a really, really good season in the blue, black and white. If we want to get into the second rows, so I've gone with Maro Itoje and Alex Coles. I think Alex Coles has been just so consistent and so good in that Northampton team, and probably doesn't get the plaudits of some other players, in particular a lot of players in that Saints team. So that's the reason I went for him. I think he's been excellent. And then Maro Itoje, whose form has probably been questioned over the last few years, but I think he has been incredibly consistent for Saracens. I was tempted by George Martin, but then I was looking back and I wasn't sure he'd played quite enough. I think it was only 6 games in the end. I know he was away with England, had some injuries as well. So Maro Itoje and Alex Coles, for me, are my second row pairing. And then we get into the back row, and the back row is always one of those areas where we could go in all sorts of different directions. There will be so many names that we could throw in there. So Courtney Lawes at 6, despite his age, despite the fact that he's now stepped away from England, he is still performing at a ridiculous level. So Courtney Lawes on the blind side. Will Evans, for me, would be one of the first names on this team sheet at open side. He has probably been the best back row forward on the floor this year. I think he's got the most turnovers. He's been an absolute menace in that area. He's been unsung, I think, Quins feel anyway, for quite a long time. He's been very good for them over a number of seasons, and I think this is arguably his best year. He's been brilliant. He is an absolute nightmare to try and deal with, and as I say, his jackling ability sets him apart. His ability to steal that ball and how consistently he's done it week in, week out. Plus, he hits his tackles, he gets about the park. I'm not saying he's a one-trick pony at all. He's a very, very good open-side flanker. For me, Will Evans easily. Could have gone with Ben Curry, for example. You could have gone with Ben Earl as well, although you might put him at 8. There are other options there and other very good players, but easy selection for me of Will Evans. And at 8, I've gone for his back row teammate, Alex Donbrown. Now, there's Zach Mercer, many of you might say. As I say, Ben Earl is there as well. Even a Jasper Wiese at Leicester, who haven't had a great year, but continues to be a focal point for them in everything they try and do well in attack. For me, it's Alex Donbrown. And the reason being, how I speak about Will Evans has had the most turnovers in the league. For a lot of the season as well, Alex Donbrown has been number 2 for turnovers on the floor. And having watched Quins quite a lot towards the end of this season, I know they fell away with a few disappointing defeats. I think Alex Donbrown's defence has gone up a couple of levels. When he first broke into the Premiership, coming out of uni, he was admired for his attacking ability, how he would find space on the edges, having good hands and quick feet for someone of his size. I think his defensive game is something he has worked on a lot. I think he is a much more complete number 8 now. And actually, particularly when we talk about England, I've never been that convinced by Donbrown. Like a lot of people, I don't think we've necessarily seen the best of him for England. And because of how well Ben Earl is playing, that's Ben Earl's jersey at the moment. But I think Donbrown deserves to be back in the reckoning. I really think he has been excellent. And as I say, I haven't always been a massive fan of his. But that's the reason I've gone for him at number 8. Let's get into the back line. Alex Mitchell gets 9. Could be Ben Spencer. I think a lot of you will say Ben Spencer, who has been sensational, would have played more as well because Mitchell has been away on England duty. But I just think the way in which Northampton have attacked, their attacking shape, Mitchell's been excellent. So I wanted to give him his credit. Could have also mentioned Gus Warren here, who I think again has had an excellent season with Sale. But I've gone with Mitchell. I have gone for Finn Russell, though, at fly half. And Finn Smith is here. It's kind of, I think, a battle between the Saints and the Bath halfbacks, really. Which makes sense, actually, as being 1 and 2 in the table. So I went with Mitchell at 9. I've gone Finn Russell at 10 because I think he has transformed that Bath attack. And Ben Spencer has been excellent and has been excellent for the last couple of years. Is probably one of the best signings, actually, Ben Spencer, for Bath for a long time as well. But I think Finn Russell's influence on that team and their ability to attack, I don't think you can overestimate it. And for the fact that they've got themselves a home semi-final, I think we saw how much they missed him when he missed a couple of games towards the back part of this season. We wondered how serious the injury would be, but he is back. He's crucial for them. Credit to Finn Smith as well, as I say, who has been outrageously good, actually. I think Finn Smith has been brilliant. In particular, actually, if we factor in the Champions Cup, I still think that performance away to Munster when they had a player sent off, the way in which Finn Smith marshalled Saints, he has been brilliant. Honestly, it's a toss of a coin, but I go Finn Russell. Into the centres quickly. So Van Rensburg for Bristol is probably the best 12 in the league, is he? I think he certainly had the best season. What a signing he's been. And he will qualify for England in a couple of years. And from what I've heard, Steve Borthwick, the England coaches, the RFU, already have their eye on him as someone they want to get into the England setup at 12. Because we know about England's issues at 12. 13, less of an issue now. But that's how good Van Rensburg is. It's how tough he is. He's been crucial for Bristol. So he goes in at 12. 13 is one of those positions that I think is really difficult. Now, I've gone with Henry Slade. And he's probably partly the beneficiary of the fact he didn't get selected by England, particularly at that World Cup. He's played more of the season for Exeter. I had Ollie Lawrence written down at first, and then I was just swayed. I just feel like Slade has maybe nicked it and had a better season because he's been excellent. Having missed out on the World Cup, he has been brilliant in that Exeter team. Could also mention Tommy Freeman, who I really like as a player who can be outside centre or wing. He's definitely worthy of an honourable mention. But for me, I went with Henry Slade. And I think I'm all right with that, despite the fact that I was like this between him and Ollie Lawrence. I think Lawrence was brilliant at the start of the year. Slade has maybe had a more consistent season. I don't know. It's one of those. Let me know. I've gone with Slade. And in terms of the back three, Ollie Slightholme and Faye Waboso, I think they're easy selections actually on the wing. Mention for Ibatoy, again, been brilliant for Bristol. Tom Roebuck as well for Sale, who again I think has been absolutely excellent. But actually in terms of putting names on the team sheet, Slightholme and Faye Waboso, I think by a bit of distance actually have been the best two wingers in the Premiership this season. So I'm happy with them. 15, I feel like it's going to be controversial. But I've gone Joe Carpenter. I love Joe Carpenter. I think he is brilliant. I think he's great under the high ball. I think he's good defensively, and I think he's good in attack as well. You look at that Sale back three, the young guys, the academy products that have come from that area in the north of England. I think Joe Carpenter's great. I'd love to see him involved in the discussion about England a little bit more, because I think he can do it all. Tyrone Green and George Furbank, I think, are the two obvious ones that deserve a real mention here. Elliot Daly, although he kind of shifts around a bit, but for me, it was Joe Carpenter. So that is my 15 of the year. How did I do? How many do you agree with? How many do you disagree with? Let me know in the comment section. For what it's worth as well, actually, just to finish, it's always worth saying with these sorts of videos, just because a team has done particularly well and finished in the top 4, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be reflected in, say, a team of the season, because it's about the individuals rather than the whole team. But I make it 3 Harlequins, which is maybe too much if you look at their league position, 2 from Bath, 1 from Sale, maybe I'm doing Sale a disservice, 5 from Northampton, 1 from Saracens, 2 from Exeter, and 1 from Bristol. That's kind of the breakdown of it. But as I say, you can let me know in the comments. I look forward to reading them. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.